Climate change is of huge importance to both the G8 and G20 summit agendas this June. Basically what we're seeing is the Canadian government hasn't really put it at a very high priority. In fact, it hasn't even put it on the G20 agenda at all. But the role that the G8 and G20 summits play on the world stage is that it's essentially the only meeting point of all the heads of states, the only time where all the presidents and prime ministers come together to discuss the most pressing world issues. Climate change has ranked #1 among Canadians as an issue that should be discussed at both the G8 and G20 forums, and that's above health, poverty, economy, etc. Climate change was also ranked as Canada's least well-performing issue of all the G20 issues and G8 issues. And so it's of major importance to Canadians, it's of major importance to world citizens, and the G8 and G20 essentially have the role of steering committee to play for the rest of the world on climate change. The key thing that we're looking for on the G8 is a commitment from countries on fast-track climate change financing. Canada is one of the only countries that we've seen not put their fair share of money on the table. We're basically looking for $1 billion over a 3-year period from Canada. On the G20 agenda, we're looking for a follow-through on the Pittsburgh commitment. So last year in 2009, President Obama came to the table and said, we need to phase out our subsidies to oil, coal, and gas. All the G20 countries agreed. This June in Toronto, it's the deadline for countries to put their plans on the table with their timelines of how they plan to do that. Canada is expected to bring forward their fossil fuel subsidy phase-out plan. We're not sure what the status is of other countries, but essentially we're looking for very good plans and timelines coming out of that. We're also looking for long-term financing discussions. So essentially what the G20 can do is move forward in discussions on how these G20 countries plan to tackle their $100 billion commitment, which was made in Copenhagen. Now, understandably, UN commitments, their final decisions should be made in the UN, but at the same time, there are many unfinished discussions that the G20 at a very high level with the prime ministers and presidents really need to have to move that discussion forward. And finally, we're looking for a discussion on the financial transaction tax. Very different from a bank tax, but essentially a financial transaction tax would take funds from all financial transactions around the world and direct them towards poverty alleviation and climate change initiatives around the world.